is iRacing.
Hey, you know that guy who just before the green flag keys up his mic and asks, "Anybody got a setup?" Well, this is him. This is Adam, and hey, Adam needs some help. On the other hand, this guy over here, this is Steve. Steve is a solid racer and he knows his way around the garage. Steve's problem is time. With a job and a family, he can't find enough time to build competitive setups and to race as often as he likes. But as luck would have it, Steve knows a secret. He lets the Majors Garage crew chiefs do the setup work so he can focus on the racing. At majorsgarage.com, Steve can get setups for over 60 cars on the iRacing service. So no matter what series he wants to jump into, he is covered. Somebody, anybody, really should tell Adam. See you at the garage.
Well, with the title already decided for the Major Series European region, the fearsome Suzuka circuit is the backdrop for the 12th and final round of what has been an epic battle all season long here. Well, hello everybody, welcome along to the Global Sim Racing channel. You join myself, Alex Goldschmidt. I'm joined in the booth today by Sagara Bakshi, and also along with us we've got Daniel Costello, our director, who's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Suzuka needs no introduction, but if you want a little refresher, here it is, our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Suzuka Circuit, perhaps most famous for its hosting of the Formula One Japanese Grand Prix for much of the event's history. This track sees all sorts of racing besides that. In fact, this place began as a test track for Honda, but later proved to be a driver and fan favorite for competitive motorsports as well. The full layout of the Grand Prix course steals the show, but there's actually 5 different versions that can be run on iRacing. With their lap lengths ranging from just over 2 kilometers to nearly 6 kilometers, plenty of different types of cars can suit the track. GT racing and lower-level open-wheelers are quite popular, but motorcycles are also a staple here. Some of the corners have become world-renowned over the years. The S's are often cited as one of the great tests of a driver's technical prowess. Then, of course, there's Dagners 1 and 2, which provide very little runoff considering their fast and narrow entry. Later on, the long backstretch leads up to the notorious 130R, which is blindingly fast. The Casio Triangle offers one last chance at an overtake if you're brave, but has been the scene of many drivers clattering into one another over the years. F1 fans will be quick to cite the infamous coming together here between Senna and Prost. However, real-life visitors will find it's more than the racing that provides some viewing pleasures. The unique ways in which the Japanese fans celebrate their favorite cars and drivers certainly capture your attention. But it's no wonder they're such fanatics, because who wouldn't be with one of the world's greatest tracks right in your backyard?
Well, just over 5.8 kilometers opened back in September of 1962. Sagar, this is going to be a true test for these drivers over the next 53 laps, as they're going to be running in the Super Formula cars, which also have the benefit of a good old push-to-pass system as well.
It sure will be. And 3.6 miles, or McDonald's cheeseburgers, however you want to count the length of the track. Founded in 1962, we're in Suzuka, Japan, with 17 or 18 corners, depending on how you count them. 8 to the left, 10 to the right, with 131 feet of elevation change with a unique figure 8 design. This is going to be a very exciting race.
Indeed it will be, and with that in mind, we've got to have a look at how the scores have been coming into this final round out of 12 here for the European driver standings, and Trevor Vavrovsky has pretty much wrapped up the title with 167 points advantage over Garen Batten, who is just 3 points ahead of his teammate Daniel Thomas. Edward Shelley and David H. Baker round out the top 5, covered by 420 points, with Jeff Schmeier, Wayne Hutchinson, Daniel Holmer, Jesper Eriksson and Uldis Poteklis rounding out the top 10 in the standings. But you look at the team standings as well. Fusion Gold Euro, pretty much with the people that they've got in there, Batten, Thomas and Shelley, any more points that they accumulate, well, they'll have wrapped up the title pretty much anyhow. Dog Bear in second, Fusion Silver Euro, SimRace Sweden Esports and GT Dynamics A big spread between the top 5, and then you've got Baby Metal, hashtag Not a Cult Racing, LDL Racing, Udox Daisy, Connection Lost Racing, and Fusion Bronze Euro rounding out the top 10. We're just coming to the last 4 3/4 minutes of the free practice session. Here is the race details. Round 12 out of 12, 53 laps. So we're going to be running in the 4-cylinder turbocharged Super Formula cars. Drive-through at 24x, and additional drive-throughs at every 8 incident points. 1 spare car only, so if you lose that, then it's going to be a long, hefty repair time here at Suzuka for all of our drivers. We're going to have probably the best part of close to 20 on the grid, but it is going to be one of those cases where we see by the helicam shots there, you see the very, very long start-finish rate. Of course, Suzuka has been a bit of a talking point back in Formula 1 in the late 1980s between a certain Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost. But today, it is going to be the case of drivers have already qualified before we've got into today here, Sagar. And more to the point, Suzuka is one of those circuits that it always provides great action no matter what you're driving.
Suzuka really is one of the staples when it comes down to motor racing, and it's because it's got a little bit of everything. It's got fast and flowy corners, it's got the snake, it's got the Casio triangle coming into the final chicane, it's got a little bit of everything, and it's got a wide berth as well. It's got some wide lanes for drivers to perform overtaking on. And with this unique overtaking system, drivers can perform up to 200 seconds of additional horsepower from their vehicles to be able to overtake the car in front of them. It's a little bit like the drag reduction system, right? But it's more like push to pass, obviously. So it's a little bit unique. It's a little bit of a variance, but it's going to be super exciting. Suzuka is one of my favorite tracks of all time. Coming into the first corner, Daniel Thomas showing us how it's done right now, the driver from Wales in the number 60 car.
Yeah, going through the Asura S, and then going into effectively 270R very, very shortly, and he's currently P3 in this practice session. We will go through the starting grid before things get underway with a standing start ahead of 53 laps, and Daniel Thomas now going through the 2 Degnas. Of course, anyone might remember their Formula 1 while Heikki Kovalainen going backwards in his McLaren and mounting the barrier with the rear tyres. Way back when he was a teammate of then a youngster by the name of Lewis Hamilton, let's say. But Sebastian Jackson running 9th in the session in the number 87. The Canadian driver now going through the snake section. Trevor Pavlovsky now coming down the hill, down the West Straights, and then heading into the fearsome 130R. And running in a good old tribute livery to Michael Schumacher back in the day. If anyone might remember the F2004, the 2004 championship winning car, which was the penultimate year that the German would then pick up a Formula 1 driver's title, as he will come across the line and pretty much call it time there, and ends up 8th in the session with a minute and 20 still to go. Also, one of the other things is that they've got a 90-second wait time before they can deploy the additional 50-60 horsepower that these 2-litre inline 4-cylinder turbocharged engines, which produce around 500 to 550 brake horsepower. So one of the interesting things that we'll see is strategy with regards to that. Also, we have been told that the iRacing safety car may be deployed at any point during this race, which could be quite interesting and throw a little bit of a spanner in the works, Sagar, I think.
Definitely going to shake things up a little bit more than not, that's for sure. If the grid gets too expanded from each other, if the grid gets too compacted, if we get a major incident on track, we're going to see a safety car come out, and that's going to throw a wrench into everybody's game plan. We're expecting to see at least one stop from the drivers tonight. Some might unfortunately have to take more than that due to damage, due to tire wear, due to fuel loss. But Most drivers will make this on a one stop with fuel and tires we're expecting so far, but what do we know? We're just broadcasters and commentators. The drivers know best, and they'll dictate to us what they actually think that they need.
So, 53 laps of racing. The battle for second position is up in the air. It's between Garen Batten and Daniel Thomas, who are just 3 points adrift coming into this 12th and final round of the European region. We also had some info from our friends stateside saying it didn't rain. Everyone did a one stop unless they had damage. But here is your starting grid for our respective qualifying. And it is going to be Timothy Price Larson ahead of Derek Heiberger, with Daniel Thomas and Austin O'Neill rounding out row number 2. Aldis Pateklis and Garen Batten rounding out row number 3, with Colby Buck and Jeff Schmeier rounding out the 4th row. Claude Beval and the man who has secured the European region title in 2025, Trevor Vavrovsky, rounds out the top 5 rows. What about the next page, Sagard? How's that looking?
I think I got some easier names to handle. So we've got Sebastian Jackson on the row 6 with Gary Thomas in 12th position. David Baker in 13th with Wayne Hutchinson alongside. Ray Partridge and Hakan Schott in row 8. And we are getting ready to go.
53 laps of the Suzuka circuit will decide the 12th and final round of the European region for the major series as we get going right now. And a good start by Timothy Fries Larson, as it's going to be 2 wide Noah's Ark style between 2nd and 3rd position as they head through 1st and 2nd corner. Now into the snake section for the first time. Larson gets the whole shot and has already, by the time we hit Dunlop very shortly, it is going to be a 7/10 of a second advantage. Heiberger, Pateklis, Thomas, Batten up to P5, O'Neill, Buck, Belval, Thomas and Schmeier round out the top 10 as we head into the Degners. Larson pulled the pin there, Sagard, and he got the whole shot he needed.
What a beautiful hole shot. You stole the words right out of my mouth as coming through Degner. Someone is off the racetrack. That was a little bit close for my comfort, but you stole the words right out of my mouth. Larson got an amazing leapfrog jump there. 1 second in the lead, and we're not even a lap into this right now. Vavrovsky and Hakan Schott right now side by side coming through the corner and in their way through Spoon now. It'll be nose to tail. The battle for 11th and 10th is still very much on. You can see a little bit of spray coming up from the tires out in front there. I'm not sure if that's moisture or if that's just debris cut on the racetrack. What do you think it is, Alex?
Up to call, because it is sunny here as they head through 130R at 6th gear at full racing speed. Hakan Schott actually did a really good job around the outside of Vavrovsky, who's going to dive to the inside of the Casio triangle, nearly squeezes through. Threading the eye of the needle is the number 10 from the USA, as Larson leads after the opening lap. We're on to lap 2 with the lead over Heiberger of 1.2 seconds. Puteklis, Thomas, Batten and O'Neill round out your top 6 at the moment as Vavrovsky to the inside, and he gets through on Hakan Schott through at first corner on the run through into the snake complex. Vavrovsky, and we've had dramas behind. Joshua Hampton in the 89 has dropped all the way down to Stone, dead last after a slight incident.
Super unfortunate there for Joshua Hampton, now dropping down into 18th position behind Michael Hogg and Ray Partridge, who are running in 16th and 17th respectfully right now. Jeff Scheimer and Gary Thomas inverting positions as Gary Thomas tumbles down the order a little bit there, and he is caught worse for wear, now tumbled down into 16th, 15th position. But we're looking at Aldis Pateklis right now, the driver running in 3rd place. 1.7 off the lead, only half a second back from his opponent of Heiberger right in front of him.
Yeah, it is going to be an interesting one to see as Pateklis trying to close in on Heiberger. The gap is 0.4 of a second and closing. Make that 0.3 as Puteklis is really starting to get the overspeed through into 130R. Might get it under braking going into the Casio triangle. Heiberger defends and keeps a hold of 2nd position as they bump over the curbing through the Casio triangle and go through last corner. But Puteklis, the Latvian, trying to do what he can as David Baker trying to close in on Hakan shot as Timothy Fries Larsen puts in a 1:37.916 as the new fastest lap of this race and extends his lead over Derek Heiberger to 1.6 seconds. So everyone's starting to get into a little bit of a rhythm now, and that will help them a little bit along the race distance. Now it's about getting into the swing of things, especially going through the S complex, heading into Dunlop. But then Baker versus Hakan Schott. That's an interesting battle here for P10.
And who do you think that I'm rooting for, Alex? Of course, I'm rooting for the driver from the United States right now. No offense to Hakan Schott, but I've got to give it up to a fellow countryman from the U.S. of A. David Baker, looking like he wants to pounce on this opportunity. He's up 2 on the evening so far, but Hakan Schott has done a great job and is up 6 positions right now. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. I wonder if we'll see some of this push to pass be engaged for David Baker to try to get around Hakan anytime soon, or if he's just going to wait and potentially fuel save a little bit and try to do an overcut on his opponent. Now, the overcut here might be the preferred strategy for some drivers, going as long as you can into your stint and shortening your final stint as much as possible due to the length that Suzuka is. It's a very long track, so it's not like you're going to run into lap traffic by coming down pit row like some smaller tracks like Tor Poznan, even Hungaroring, things of that nature. You're not going to run. We're going to watch a replay of this incident in just a few moments' time, but right now the battle between David Baker.
So it's Claude Belval, the Canadian, coming out of Degner 2. Ball loses the back end, and there's someone else spinning in the background through the second part of it. And Belval, oh, that's the rear wing got us under, so that's his spare car, unfortunately gone, as David Baker gets through on Hakan Schott, who is the biggest mover, up 5 positions, was 6 before the American got through at the first corner here on lap 4 out of 53. One of the other things that you mentioned about fuel there, Sagar, but also we've got to talk about the high degradation of this circuit, as we've got a replay of Wayne Hutchinson, who has dropped down to 17th, and oh, that car has definitely got a very loose rear end, and he's lost the back end of it. I think that was through Spoon Curve, manages to gather it back up again, but degradation on tyres, that's also going to be something that the drivers are going to have to think about over the course of the race distance.
That's very true. This is going to be a very high deg circuit due to the fact that we have a lot of high speed corners. So the drivers will have to maintain their slip angle. That basically means as much as they're putting input into the steering wheel, they want to minimize that as much as possible to prevent their car from sliding across the tarmac, right? So the more that you slide across the tarmac, the more you're going to just grit away your tires, kind of like you're grating a piece of cheese. And you don't want that cheese to dissipate before the end of the race, because then you're left with no more cheese, and everybody loves cheese, of course. But besides the point, you don't want to over-degrade your tires, otherwise you'll be left with none towards the end of your stint or the end of the race. So the drivers are going to manage their slip and prevent them from grating their lovely, lovely, delicious cheese. And I've got to say as well to David Baker, USA, USA. I'm just kidding, of course, Alex.
Hey, there's nothing about a little bit of patriotism there, Sagar. I completely understand it, but Colby Buck was a little bit twitchy going through a couple of the corners whilst chasing down Austin O'Neill and Garen Batten, as Puteklis, the Latvian, who has made up at the moment 2 spots, started 5th on the grid as he comes out of the second of the 2 Degners, closing in on Derek Heiberger as they go into the hairpin. The 666 from Latvia now comes out of what will be Spoon Curve, as they're going to be going down, well, not the Spoon Curve, my apologies there, going through into 270R, and then the head down into the hairpin, and again through to Spoon Curve. You can just see they carry the speed through. They don't touch the inside corner through the first part of Spoon Curve, but then swing the cars around through that second half, and now is with the opportunity where you can use that additional 50 to 60 brake horsepower in the push to pass, which Heiberger is using through at 130R at full speed, 6th gear, flat on the throttle, hard on the brakes, down into around about 2nd gear through the Casio triangle. Heiberger's not getting away from Puteklis, who is actually really keeping the 655 very, very honest, but Larsen at the moment has, as we head on to lap 6 out of 53, a 3-second advantage at the sharp end of the field.
That is absolutely insane. Now we're looking at Colby Buck, the driver from Canada, who's chasing down Austin O'Neill, the driver in 6th position, only 3/10 back from making this overtake work. But we all know catching is one thing, passing is a completely different ball game, of course. Coming through the snake right now, the driver is coming through very neatly and tidily, single file line between each other. And then there's Garen Batten, who's seemingly disconnected from the session right now and is falling back into 9th place. Hopefully we can get Garen Batten back in, no pun intended, to the race. And right now it'll be Colby Buck and Austin O'Neill promoted into 5th and 6th place. The 654 leading the number 32, the Canadian driver following in single file line. And these are gaps that are kind of slinking back and forth, right? And what I mean by that is the gap seems to expand at certain points in the track and contract at other points in the track, coming together again. So what I'm trying to get at is that these gaps are somewhat fluid right now at this early stage in the race. I don't think anybody's really trying to use their push to pass just yet, or their what's it called? Alex, help me out with the lingo here.
Well, whether they're going to be using the push to pass, whether they're going to be saving it for a rainy day, that'll be more towards the opportunity of getting those well-needed points. Now, in terms of the European region standings, as Puteklis and Heiberger, they've got a push to pass battle happening here. The Latvian looking to the inside of the first corner on the 655. He dives to the inside. Heiberger from Hyperion Racing keeping ahead of the Latvian. That was a great little exchange between the pair. In terms of the European region rankings, Daniel Thomas now has the advantage because Garen Batten, with that unfortunate disconnect, that has cost him effectively what could be second in the title standings, because Vavrovsky, who is holding on to P8 at the moment in the number 10 car, is not having to worry about having that pressure of a significant differential between him and the guys in 2nd and 3rd position. Meantime, Vavrovsky, the Michael Schumacher Ferrari tribute livery band, is closing in. There's a mistake from Schmeier coming out of Degner number 2. As Vavrovsky to the inside at the hairpin, runs it a little bit deep, covers off Schmeier and gets the job done as the number 10 from the USA up to P7. Good work there by Vavrovsky, who's now up 3 spots, having rounded out the top 10 after the qualifying stages before this final race of the season.
Really great drive from Vavrovsky right now. 3 places up on the good for the evening tonight and driving an iconic Marlboro livery. He's looking pretty apt at getting some more positions as well. Here's a battle between Uldis Puteklis and Heiberger as well. Coming back, and it looks like Garen Batten might be back in the session. So the driver from Australia trying to clinch as many points as possible, as you were saying, in the championship standings, and try to just clutch some back in, potentially getting a new car and headed back onto the racetrack. Here's Colby Buck and Austin O'Neill's battle, and being chased by Vavrovsky and Scheimer as well in the rear view mirror. Of course, these cars don't have rear view mirrors. They just have their side pod mirrors. But of course, in the virtual world, we do have the virtual mirrors installed. And what a beautiful camera shot we have of the cockpit of Colby Buck right now, the driver from Canada, driving the number 32, coming through the snake, up the hill, coming through what looks like Dunlop now, and leading down towards Degner 1. Degner 1 is a fast-flowing right-hander where you're just going to do a little bit of a lift potentially as a safety precaution. Coming into Degner 2, a little bit more tentative there and falling in behind Austin O'Neill, but slinking that gap backwards and forwards yet again, closing down the gap, coming through the hairpin. And there's a little bit of a lockup from Austin O'Neill out in front, and the gap escapes him one more time. This is an amazing track, and amazing battles taking place up and down the grid.
Yeah, now having come through 270R 5th gear into the first part of Spoon Curve, down from 5th into 4th, now apply the power. Don't just make sure that the back end doesn't want to get a little bit over rotational with those rear tyres, as Puteklis now going side by side with Heiberger into the Casio triangle again. So the Latvian is giving the man in front a bit of a hard task to try and keep the back end of that Super Formula car as wide as humanly possible. Puteklis looks to the outside here down the start-finish stretch in towards first corner. He edges ahead, but Heiberger still has the inside line. Puteklis at the moment is trying to use everything in the playbook and then some to get through on Heiberger, who is just keeping the 666 at bay for this battle for P2. And whilst this is happening, Timothy Fries Larsen is ahead by now 5.6 seconds as we are fast approaching 1/5 race distance here at Suzuka for the final round of the Major Series European region for 2025.
Now, I think that Heiberger and Pateklis have both decided that we're not catching up to Larson. So let's have our battle here and now on the racetrack. Let's put on a show for the rest of the field. And Pateklis definitely using that push to pass to try to get around Heiberger as quickly as possible. He does have a faster best lap, but I think that the last laps are indicative of his true pace. 137.8 to a 138.2. So Pateklis knows and understands that he is faster and can escape Heiberger's clutches potentially. But here comes Vavrovsky in that marble livery, trying to shake things up with his opponent, Colby Buck, who's out in front in 6th place. Looked to the inside line, but couldn't find the daylight there. And now it'll have to be single file line coming down the hill and into 130R, because 130R is a dangerous place to try to make an overtake move, but they're going to go side by side, and that's why it's so dangerous, because it's so high speed, and Trevor Vavrovsky gets his side pod taken out, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's exposing the left-hand side of the engine, the cooling system, and Vavrovsky, well, he's had to shortcut the Casio triangle as a direct result of that. He tried his I think, well, if anyone might remember the overtake that Fernando Alonso that did over Michael Schumacher back at 130R at over 200 miles an hour, well, unfortunately, Trevor Vavrovsky's attempt of doing a modern-day equivalent has just unfortunately hit a massive fail as Sebastian Jackson to the inside of Hakan Schott and gets through at first corner whilst on the P2P, and that is now a change. The Canadian up into 9th place as the flying the Super Swede, Hakan Schott, the 101, has to relinquish that 9th place, but there's still plenty of racing to go over the next 43 laps, including this one, and sometimes when you get to this point, you know, we could probably see, depending on how fuel levels are, how tyre degradation has been for respective drivers, because when you use that push to pass, it puts an additional bit of torque through the back axle, and that can over-rotate the tyres, especially if you're waiting to deploy, as Vavrovsky has used his one and only spare car, so he's back out, rejoins in 14th position.
And a quick update regarding Garen Batten. He is back on the racetrack in 17th position for the number 61. He is 1 lap down on the rest of the field as Larson sets another fast lap of 137.016 for himself. He is basically a full 3/10, 4/10 faster than oldest Pateklis, who did get the move around Heiberger on that previous occasion. Here is Garen Batten, the Australian man from down under, and he is back onto the racetrack with the rubber side down this time around, coming under the Suzuka circuit bridge banner right now and crossing the line. He is still going to be 1 lap down. Next up the road will be Michael Hogg, who is 58 seconds, up the road.
Yeah, so we've already had one retiree, Claude Belval, in the number 56, out after effectively 5 or 6 laps, with a big incident coming out of the second Degner with the rear end of his Super Formula car. A complete destitute mess after the car went backwards into the barriers, having over-rotated. But good to see Garen Batten still trying to possibly take advantage of maybe misfortune of those in front. But Timothy Fries Larsen, the man from Norway in the 656, going along the business at hand. And a good point by Black Solar 212 in the YouTube chat. Side by side through 130R usually doesn't work. Yeah, I think Mr. Vavrovsky's ears might be burning after you put that comment in there. We can have a look at the replay here. It goes to the outside, and it's contact. It's just, there's a bit of netcode there, I think. Mr. Netcode has reared his ugly head, and Vavrovsky ends up going completely off the circuit, and the left side pod decides to vacate the situation at rather high speed.
Super unfortunate there for Vavrovsky, who was doing so well. He was up 3 for the good on the evening so far, and looking like he was about to make more, obviously. It would have been 4 up had he made that move stick. but now he's down 4 on the evening, down into 14th place. But Timothy Freese Larson is doing such an amazing job right now. He's just ticking away like clockwork. Last lap around, another fast lap. It'll be a 136.835 on lap number 12. And he is just pulling away from the rest of the field. 7 seconds the gap currently, back from Oldis Pateklis in second place, the Latvian driver, escaping Heiberger now by around 1.2 seconds. Heiberger potentially trying to save his cheese or save those tires for a better day. This 666 right now doing the best possible he can right now. His last lap was his best lap, a 137.320, excuse me. And he's up 3 for the good on the evening. Started down in 5th position, and Oldis Pateklis is a driver who's no slouch by his name. He's definitely one of the faster.
Decided to jump into pit lane, get a fresh set of tyres on there, because with that over rotation at 130R following the ghost contact, that would have put a big amount of flat spots on the tyres. So Austin O'Neill also dives into pit lane on the same lap in the 654, and will now park the car on its marks in pit road. Who else? David Baker is in the pit lane as Pateklis rejoins in 6th position. So Baker's going to park up the number 33 as Jeff Schmeier closing in on Colby Buck. Now this is the battle on the track for 4th position at the moment, as we are on lap 13 out of 53. We've had green flag racing pretty much the whole way of this particular adventure around the only Grade 1 FIA listed figure of 8 circuit. Fiorano, Ferrari's test track, was Grade 1 up until quite recently, where it was put down a little mark or two, basically because of the fact it is not a circuit that is used in anger like we see at Suzuka, but still is another circuit that is a figure of 8. And I think we might have the safety car coming out very, very shortly, just waiting for that to be confirmed by race control. And safety car is out on lap number 14 out of 53. And Timothy Freese Larson comes to a very slow crawl straight into the first corner, as there is the Porsche pace car waiting to get past him to pick him up. And then what this is also going to do, folks, is concertina to the whole field, and that's what we love with safety cars, Zagar. It means that everyone gets a second bite of the cherry, so to speak.
But in American speak, though, the real problem with safety cars is that cautions breed cautions, in my opinion. And in all of NASCAR, cautions will breed more cautions. And hopefully we don't see another safety car come out right after this safety car. Oldis Pateklis getting the short end of the stick here, having just taken that pit stop, has no opportunity to go back down pit lane and get a short or a even free pit stop like some of the drivers will maybe get the opportunity to do. He is down into 6th place. Here's Gary Thomas now, the driver, in 9th place. Austin O'Neill, the driver, in 10th place, driving the 654. Ray Partridge in 11th position. And then there's going to be Trevor Vavrowski, who's going to get a new breath on life now and get bunched up with the rest of the field and get that opportunity to clinch back some more positions. But Trevor Vavrowski really has that opportunity that he has been beckoning for right now. And especially with a brand new car, he has a new breath of life in front of him. David H. Baker in 13th position. Wayne Hutchinson is going to be the driver in 14th position. Michael Hogg in 15th. Joshua Hampton in 16th. And Garen Batt in 17th, who again is now back into the mix.
Yeah, this could give the number 61, who at this moment coming into this 12th and final round of the major series for the European region, is just ahead of Daniel Thomas by a mere 3 points coming into this final round, as everyone's starting to bunch up behind the Porsche pace car as they head down the dip. And one of the wonderful things that I love about Suzuka is that the circuit itself, of course, yes, figure of 8, a lot of elevation change, a lot of camber as well, especially when we go through corners such as Spoon Curve, where it is quite deceptively a double left, and then you've got that long run down the West Straight heading into 130R, where the drivers can really apply the power and just go full throttle all the way up the hill here. And then it's that deceptive left-hand kink, you got to really sort of time it well. And that's not just the entry, it's also the exit, because we have seen it before, Sagard, where drivers have overcommitted. They've thought, yeah, I've got an opportunity here to get round this corner at full speed. But I have seen it before where drivers have just taken a little bit too speed into 130R, and it's all gone horribly wrong on the other side of the corner.
You're absolutely right, especially if you get the exit wrong coming out of 130R. You set yourself up poorly coming through the Casio triangle. So you're coming through as fast and as swiftly as possible, carrying a ton of speed to that left-hand corner, and then all of a sudden you've got to get all the way over to the left still for the entrance to the Casio triangle, where it's a right-left-hand chicane. So you're just keep on turning the wheel even as you go past 130R. Lights are still on in the safety car. We will not see them come down pit lane just yet. And I don't believe we're going to have any pit lane callers this time around, or I don't think that they're allowed to do so. Oh, we do have some pit callers, and let's give a quick update on those pit stoppers right now.
Roski's come in, is one of them. Also Gary Thomas, Ray Partridge, Wayne Hutchinson, Michael Hogg, Gary Thomas. So a few have pitted. Looks like some of them are going to be using this as a way to mediate the fuel. There is a possibility of becoming a bit of a cheese whisperer, using your analogy there, Cigar. Someone might want to try and do a bit of a Checo Perez to conserve those tyres and hopefully conserve that fuel. It is quite an exhausting lap around here, not just for the drivers, but also when they've got to measure that fuel window, as safety car lights are out. So we will be growing green at the start of lap 16 out of 53, or 17 out of 53. We're currently on lap 16 at the moment, so this has given the opportunity for the drivers to have a little bit of a breather and just try and compose themselves. I do see that Daniel Thomas is weaving from side to side to try and get some temperature into the tyres, but once the Porsche pace car goes into pit lane, which will be just after the Casio triangle, it will be Timothy Freyrs Larsen that will be the de facto pace car and will lead us back to green.
And when we grow green flag running, it'll be very interesting because the order of operations has gone to Larson, Heiberg, and Daniel Thomas running in third position, Colby Buck in fourth position, Jeff Scheimer in fifth position, Pateklis in sixth, Sebastian Jackson in seventh, Hakan Shaw in eighth, Austin O'Neill, David Baker in 10th, and that was a wave around for Garen Batten. So he is the lucky dog on the evening tonight. Basically, what happens is that he is the first car not on the lead lap. So he's able to go around the entire field, hopefully, if all things go correctly, catch back up to the rest of the field and be on the lead lap with the rest of the field. So that means that Garen Batten's back into the mix more than ever on this opportunity tonight.
Yeah, but he's still got a big mountain to climb here at Suzuka, because his chief rival for second in the standings, Daniel Thomas, is all the way up in third place as we head through into Spoon Curve, and then it will be the run down the West Straight into 130R, and then it will be into the Casio Triangle, and then the Porsche pace car will, so they're doing the wave around, so the lights are back on the safety car, so Garen Batten can get through on the rest of the field and then sprint ahead of the Porsche pace car and then get to the back of the order. So once that has happened, then the safety car lights will be back out. So we won't be going green this time, but it also, for us here in commentary, it does give us the opportunity to wait for that adrenaline spike when the lights go out on the pace car. And there is Garen Batten at full chat at the moment, going through Degner 2, the Australian, trying to catch up with the rest of the field, and that gap is going to be next to nothing when he pulls behind the 744 of Michael Hogg, who rounds out the top 16. So Garen Batten making his way through 270R, and we'll now head into Spoon Curve. So yeah, that is going to be interesting to see. It's a bit like when you've got the wave arounds in NASCAR, and if anyone might remember Days of Thunder saying you've got to be at max speed when the green flag drops. We could see possibly that here with Garen Batten, who's now going to be high speed through at 130R, and that gap is coming down slowly but surely. But oh right, Michael Hogg has now pitted in the 744, so that means that Garen Batten is going to be able to close in to the back of... Oh, he's gone into the pits. That's very interesting. So so Garen Batten, this is going to be insult to injury. He's just had a black flag for pit lane entry, so it's not gone well for the Australian, I'm afraid, in the 61 car.
Super unfortunate there for Garen Batten. Oh man, adding insult to injury. And it was an interesting strategy call too, because what he could have done was basically gotten a free pit stop as well as the lucky dog. He would have been well back into the mix on fresher tires than his opponent and back into it. And it looks like that penalty has been cleared for Garen Batten, and he's going to be back on the racetrack. Catching up to the rest of the field is Garen Batten now with that green flag running that we're about to go to in just a few moments time. He is in front of Michael Hogg, so that is working in his favor right now. Garen Batten is definitely back into the mix of this battle with potentially fresher tires but a higher fuel load than the rest of the field. Let's see what he can do once we go back to green flag running.
Yeah, so the anticipation once again is about to hit fever pitch, because Timothy Fries Larsen, Derek Heiberger, and then we got Daniel Thomas, possibly European region vice champion elect at this stage in P3. Colby Buck, Jeff Schmeier, Aldis Pateklis will have an opportunity to get himself up to the sharp end of the field, and might give him a get out of jail free card, so to speak, in terms of closing in on Timothy Fries Larsen, who after the opening 2 laps was 3 seconds up the road. So Larsen in the 656 will be the de facto pace car once the Porsche safety car pulls in to pit lane. And now Michael Hogg and Garen Batten have taken up their positions. It will be a single file restart. No overtaking can take place until they have crossed the start finish line. And I've got the goosebumps on the on my forearms at the moment, so I got on the hairs standing up on the back of my neck, because we are still not even halfway through this race here at Suzuka, and this could be the grandstand finale that we've been waiting for here in the European region of this year's Masters Series, Major Series.
There have been so many good races part of the European Major Series. Only a few that I've been a part of, unfortunately, but mostly great racing now that I've watched some of the VODs back. And watching these drivers compete all season long has been so enthralling. It's been so entertaining. All the drivers bobbing and weaving, trying to generate heat into their tires now that they know that the safety car lights are out for good this time around. We might still potentially see another safety car come out in the later stages of the race, but the drivers are getting ready to challenge each other for positions overall. Now the question is going to be, who's got the push to pass remaining? Who's got this pace? Who's got the consistency to make it to the end of this race? We've seen a lot of the field still not come into the pits. Our top 5 runners still have not come down pit road. The first one to make their pit stop so far out of the top 7 is going to be Aldis Pateklis, who's running in 6th position right now. Hawkinshaw in 8th position still has not taken their pit. Everybody else has taken at least 1 pit stop on the evening tonight.
Larsen brings us back to green as we are back underway as we start lap number 17 out of 53, and Larsen already gets the perfect restart. He's ahead of Heiberger by over 6.5 tenths of a second as they go through the S complex, as Colby Buck trying to close in on Daniel Thomas for that 3rd spot. He's got Jeff Schmeier close on his rear wing, Pateklis, Jackson, Hakan Schott, and we've got Austin O'Neill, David Baker, Josh Hampton rounding out the top 10, as they will now head into the Degners at high speed. You dropping down from 6th to 5th. A little bit of a lift off of the throttle, but not too much. Colby Buck's now losing a little bit of time to Daniel Thomas, and has got Colby Buck very tight on the apex at the hairpin. as Trevor Vorowski dives to the inside of the hairpin on Josh Hampton. That was a great move by the number 10 in the Ferrari livery. Now he moves up into 11th and one spot down from where he qualified. Meantime, biggest mover at the moment, Hakan Schott, up 8 spots, qualified for this race down in 16th on the outside of row number 8. And he's definitely making some moves, but as you rightly said, he's right aboard with Garen Batten, the Australian, looking for the move up the inside. That was millimetre close, and he's made contact with Wayne Hutchinson. There's carbon fibre all over the shop, and that is disaster. Garen Batten's car battered beyond belief as he made contact with Wayne Hutchinson, and again, 130R has been the nemesis for two more drivers.
We hadn't even gotten to 130R before that incident happened. That's what's got my heart in my chest right now, beating like it's no other. We didn't even get to the corner entry before there was contact. It's like we touched in a straight line there. Garen Batten and Wayne Hutchinson both involved in a huge accident right now. Hopefully both of their wrists are okay. My heart goes out to Garen Batten right now because, man, he was on the opportunity of a lifetime to catch back up and shake things up.
Oh, Jeff Schmeier. Jeff Schmeier's just bended as well, coming out of the second Degner. Oh, dear. And that's the number 30. So Jeff should, I would have thought, might have a spare car. So Jeff Schmeier in the number 30, he was running pretty strongly. He was running in 9th place behind Austin O'Neill. So at the moment, Hakan Schott now up 9 spots and now runs P7 in the number 101. Austin O'Neill trying to close in on him as they go down the West Straights up towards 130R. Trevor Vorowski closing in this time on David Baker. Vorowski's got to be very, very careful how he approaches 130R this time. Discretion being the better part of valor, and he's lined up a move. And, well, I'll be completely honest with you there, Baker didn't really fight it. He let Vorowski go through because he knew that the number 10 would have the better pace. Garen Batten now does rejoin in the number 61 car. So does Hutchinson. Yet to see when Jeff Schmeier might be back out onto the circuit, but one of the big problems is that Batten and Hutchinson have been lapped. As Joshua Hampton trying to go wheel to wheel, I think very, very briefly, with Gary Thomas in the number 7 for 11th position going into the Snake Complex, and the 89 having to back out of it in the early exchanges.
Still, my heart goes out to Garen Batten right now. He's doing everything he can to try to get back into the mix of things tonight. The Australian driver just not having the luck go his way, and the championship can be decided here tonight. Well, at least for 2nd and 3rd place provisionally, barring any stewarding decisions, etc., tonight, by just 3 points margin coming into tonight's race. Right now, it's Timothy Larson in 1st place, Derek Heiberger in 2nd, Daniel Thomas in 3rd, Colby Buck, Pateklis, Jackson, Schott, and O'Neill running in 8th place. Vorowski in 9th, with David Baker running into your top 10. Austin O'Neill trying to shake things up with Hakan Schott right now, who's the biggest gainer on the night, up to 9 positions. Faster laps going the way of Hakan Schott right now, a 140.088 compared to a 145.21 currently from Austin O'Neill. Excuse me, 138.3 out of Austin O'Neill. So he could have the better pace this time around, and looking towards the inside line going into the 1st corner. Will he make a leap of faith, a jump, a leap? No, he's going to back out of it, follow in single file line, and just take Hakan Schott's drag to the line. And coming through the snake, it's going to be extremely dangerous to follow that closely because you get caught up in the turbulent air from the car in front. The car in front is going to be punching a hole into the air, and then there's going to be turbulent air, kind of like dust particles, invisible dust particles hitting the car behind and just bashing into them roughly and aggressively, causing that rear car to basically drive out of line or out of position just a little bit and shaking up their perfect aero balance that they have. Coming over the wing, coming over the nose, it's going to be extremely hard for that rearward facing car to basically follow in single file lines. So you'll see the car actually dip out of the slipstream coming through some of the faster parts of the track, like through the snake, basically trying to escape that turbulent air. Now, coming down towards 130R, everybody's going to be driving in a single file line as closely as possible. Those halos are going to be lined up perfectly because that front car punching a giant hole in there for the second car. Now, Trevor Vrosky is getting a huge slipstream run right now, headed down into Castro Triangle, but we've got a great view of the side-by-side battle headed into the side-by-side, and it's going to be Austin O'Neill getting in front of Hawkinshaw. And there's Trevor Vrosky also getting through on Hawkinshaw right there with a little tap to boot.
Yeah, Vrosky was very, very lucky. I mean, he's one of the drivers that have got fresher tyres that are under double digits when it comes to the stint that they have got at the moment. I mean, Hawkinshaw at the minute has been on his tyres for 21 laps. So is Timothy Fries Larson, Derek Heiberger. We've also got Daniel Thomas and Colby Buck. They have yet to effect a pit stop. So is the case for the 6th place, number 87 car of Sebastian Jackson, yet to have their first pit stop of the race so far. For Vrosky has been in the pits twice. Obviously, first for the. Oh, and we've got a meatball flag for Trevor Vrosky, so there was a little bit of contact between Vrosky and Hawkinshaw. So I think it might be right rear damage that Vrosky has picked up. So that's caught the attention of the server, and there has now been a meatball flag come out. Meantime, Daniel Thomas, the man from Wales, within 5.5 tenths of a second of Derek Heiberger, as they still are battling over P2. Larson, once again, like he did in the opening stint before the safety car period earlier on, has countered away to the tune of about 4.6 seconds. P2 and P3, it's about 0.2 of a second apart, not even that, as the Welshman closes in on the 655, and you can see that the number 60's got a real good pace through the Snake Complex as they are there winging their way down towards Dunlop, as Heiberger from the USA representing Hyperion Racing. They were also in action yesterday in the SimRacing Republic Sports Car Championship presented by RDocs, which had their epic midway point of the season. But Heiberger's lost it. Heiberger's lost it, and that's off at the Degners, and that has given Daniel Thomas more than what he needed. And Colby Buck has just said to Derek Heiberger, "Thank you very much, kind sir, you've given me that place for free."
And I was gonna just mention Oldis Pateklis, the driver from Latvia in that 666, who's been running a very quiet race now, 6/10 behind Heiberger, the USA driver, currently driving at 6.55. And I just think he got the worst luck of all during that safety car period. He had just come in a lap before the safety car got called out there, so he really just had the worst luck of anybody. Was running in second position for the majority of this race, obviously battling it out with Heiberger for a short period of time, and now the battle's about to resume. But it's just so unlucky for Pateklis, and he's got to do all the hard work over again. He started off in 5th position, was up into 2nd, now he's back into 5th and has to do all this work all over again, because now he's pretty much stuck to or glued to a 2-stop strategy for the rest of the race. If he came in close to lap 15, if I remember correctly, or lap 13, he's on a 10-lap stint right now. He's going to have to come in again. Here's David Baker chasing down Hawkinshaw right now, and it looks like we did have a pit stop for Trevor Vrosky, who had that meatball flag.
Yeah, and well, that just goes to show how quickly things can turn on a sixpence, as Hawkinshaw is really under scrutiny right now. He's trying to hang these tyres out as long as he can. It's 23 laps into this stint. I did say that there would be some drivers that would try and make this first stint go as long as possible, not just on the tyres, but also on the fuel. And Timothy Fries Larson looks like he's going to be executing possibly the perfect one-stop strategy, but he's got to be very, very careful. pit stops at their best can be anywhere between 8.5 to 10 seconds in the pit stop itself, but then you've also got the transfer time from entering pit lane to exiting pit lane. And Aldis Pateklis, his total pit lane time was just over 29.5 seconds. The same for Austin O'Neill, who pitted on the same lap, let's not forget. So both those drivers compromised because of that early safety car, and despite his car having 24 lap old tyres on them, Timothy Fries-Larson puts in a 1:36.030 and now opens up the gap over Daniel Thomas to 6.6 seconds as we keep on board with the 33 from the USA of David Baker, closing in on Hakan Schott from Sweden in the number 101 through the Casio Triangle, now through last corner, and you can see David Baker has been holding on to that push to pass. So that is 170 seconds. That is just the best part of 3 minutes of push to pass availability left for the American as he gets really, really close in the braking zone on Hakan Schott. And right with them now is going to be somebody else. So Baker really trying to put Hakan Schott under pressure to see if the Swede is going to make a mistake, but the 101 still holding on at the moment.
Yeah, and that's not going to be Gary Thomas who's in there behind him. That will be a lap car. That could potentially be Jeff Scheimer who's behind them. Yes, it is Schmeier, excuse me, who's behind them. So not really in this pack battle, but looking to get around them to unlap himself at the earliest opportunity possible. Garen Batten is back into the race, up into 14th position, so about 30 seconds up the road. Wayne Hutchinson now with a DNF from the race. Super unfortunate there. Trevor Vavrovsky still in the pit lane, just to give you an update there. And that meatball flag really costing him a huge amount of time. We did see him take his spare car out already because of that incident at 130R. And now he is going to have to serve his full pit stop time to get those repairs taken care of before he's back onto the racetrack. But here right now, and we're looking at David Baker and Hakan Schott right now, looking into the Casio Triangle. He wants to make an overtaking move, but David Baker can't find the daylight to exist on the inside line. Just wasn't close enough there, coming through 130R, leading down and towards the Casio Triangle. Now coming out of the last curve, he's going to push that overtake button, but does he have enough length of time to get alongside the inside line before the first corner? He cannot. Under the braking, he has to follow in single file line, and that'll be all his opportunities headed into that first sector, because once you get to the Snake and into Dunlop, it's going to be nothing but single file line order of operation. There's nothing you can do about it unless there's a huge mistake from the car in front. But Hakan Schott really has been mistake-free this entire evening.
Well, the same could be said for Timothy Fries-Larson, who last time around is the first driver to dip underneath the 1 minute 36 bracket on the lap times, 1:35.919 with 25 lap old tyres. So Timothy Fries-Larson really showcasing, if you're at the front end of the field and if you start on pole position here at Suzuka, you are the one that has got the best amount of time, and that is now going to be pretty much halfway nearly that we're at. We're on the halfway lap here with Timothy Fries-Larson, the man from Norway, in the 6:56. His gap over Daniel Thomas is nearly a mighty best part. Well, it's nearly coming up to 10 seconds now with the delta we're seeing on the timing tower. So Timothy Fries-Larson, they do say that smooth is fast around here, especially at Suzuka. And Timothy Fries-Larson is giving everyone a schools in session here on Sunday. And look how calm his inputs are at the minute. Not having to use that push to pass, clear air in front of him, now through into the hairpin. The Norwegian is absolutely firing on all respective cylinders. You can see, look at the steering wheel input, minimal, absolutely minimal. Just letting the car do the work, letting the aero chime in when he needs to. And then a little bit of wrestling with the steering wheel coming out of coming out of Spoon Curve. And now let's keep on board with this man from Norway in the 6:56, 6th gear. And now we go to 130R. Will he lift? No. no lift.
Not even a
Bruce
smudge.
Larson in 130R. That is impressive. Impressive commitment.
That is absolutely phenomenal. And I wanted to see if he was using any of that overtaking opportunity or those overtake push to passes from that system at all during his lap to set these amazing fast laps. Now a 135.8, but it didn't look like he was using it at all. But that no lift coming through 130R is just absolutely phenomenal. Timothy Freeze Larson just putting on an absolute clinic for us right now on how to drive these super formulas around Suzuka, a track that they're well accustomed to. And it looks like Timothy Freeze Larson was basically born and bred at Suzuka in these cars, apparently. Now we're looking at Gary Thomas chase down David H. Baker. Currently in a sandwich between Joshua Hampton and that Baker sandwich, as Gary Thomas is just 4/10 ahead. And actually, that's not Joshua Hampton behind. That will be Jeff Schmeier who's behind him. Excuse me again, as that is a back mark. But Gary Thomas looking like he wants to pounce on the inside line there.
Baker versus Neal. No, that was Baker versus Hack and Shot.
Yes.
And they both wanted to push past. For those wondering, if it's flashing intermittently, it's when the system is recharging. When it's flashing like crazy, they are using the push to pass. So if you use it at the beginning of the snake complex, you've got to wait until the start-finish straight to start using again. So you've got to wait 90 seconds before you can redeploy and the system recharges itself. But in the meantime, because of Baker's overzealous try on getting past Hakan Shot, it's allowed Gary Thomas to close on in, who nearly touches the back of him. Thomas nearly losing the back end under braking, going through into the hairpin, as Colby Buck and Derek Heiberger now have changed places. Heiberger had dropped down to 4th behind Colby Buck in the number 32, so the 655 from the USA now back up into 3rd spot, as we are fast approaching in the next couple of laps. 30 laps out of 53 completed, and still the top 4, Sebastian Jackson and Hakan Shot, still have yet to pit from on their respective first set of tyres that they've been using in this race. Incredible that we've got some drivers that are really trying to push this more than past the halfway point to get a fresh set of boots on, or a fresh batch of cheese, as you would put, Sagar, on their cars, so at least they can then go back at it again and try and just eke out that gap. But also you can't you can't really say anything apart from how supreme Timothy Freeze Larson has been all the way through. His fastest lap so far, 1.4 seconds off of his qualifying time, which was a 1:34.4, and he's now got an 11.1 second gap over the man from Wales, Daniel Thomas, who is not that far away, about 24 laps from securing provisionally vice championship status in the Major Series European region here in 2025. The Welshman has kept it nice and clean in the number 60 as he fires his way through into 1st corner.
Really amazing stuff here tonight. I mean, just the pace alone by these drivers and the ability to come back and really challenge for these positions. It looks like Colby Buck is losing out positions right now, dropping like a stone. That'll promote Oldest Pateklis into 4th and 3rd position. Is he in the pit lane? He is in the pit lane. So the first to blink from the top 5 there will be Colby Buck, as he tumbles down into 7th position right now and gets his change of tires, and he's back onto the racetrack and in front of Hakan Shot and David Baker, running in 8th and 9th position, who are still in this epic battle for 8th and 9th position, currently separated by 7/10 of a second. And wow, Colby Buck, the first to blink from the top 5, and that'll leave just the top 3 down to Oldest Pateklis, who has taken his pit stop, and then Sebastian Jackson, who has not taken theirs. Everybody else has taken a pit stop, except for Hakan Shot, apparently.
Yeah, also just looking at the total pit stop time for Colby Buck, 28.8 seconds. Total time in pit lane, pit stop was 9.1 for the number 32. So it's going to be interesting to see when Hakan Schott, Timothy Fries Larson, Daniel Thomas, Derek Heiberger, when they will pit. Sebastian Jackson in 5th, also yet to pit. So Aldous Pateklis now on 16 lap old tyres, as we are now on lap 50 out of 30 out of 53. Track temperature did go up to as high as 29 degrees centigrade. Currently now 27 degrees centigrade, 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Air temperature 19 degrees, 66 degrees Fahrenheit. Has been partially cloudy for the majority, if not all, of this race, as Hakan Schott still trying to put the defensive notion towards David Baker in the number 33. And David Baker is activating the push to pass. Hakan Schott has also decided to use it so it can be used as an attacking or defensive countermeasure, as Baker very close to the left rear wheel of Hakan Schott going through into first corner, but has to decide. Discretion is the better part of valor, holds back and waits for another opportunity to strike. Whether he can get very close coming out of Spoon Curve and down the West Straight heading down towards 130R, if he could pull a move off there for the corner, that would be a pretty mighty overtake.
Now, I've been a little bit distracted there, Alex Goldschmidt, because I've been doing some commentators' math, so excuse me if I get this math wrong, okay? But work this out with me. Aldous Pateklis is on a 17-lap stint so far, right?
Yep.
Timothy Fries Larson is on a 31-lap stint. Can Aldous Pateklis make it to the end of the race on this one-stop strategy? I think so? Question mark?
Question mark indeed, because we've got 22 laps. Yes, he could. It depends on his tyre conservational skills, as Hakan Schott being hounded by David Baker, who's going towards the outside of the approach to the Casio Triangle, and the 33 goes right round the outside. Beautiful move there by David Baker. I think Hakan Schott knew it was coming and decided, well, I'm going to back out of that, and I think Hakan Schott has dived into pit lane on lap 31. So that was it for Hakan Schott. The tyres possibly had given up the ghost, and maybe he might have been running on fumes. So yes, there is an outside chance that Aldous Pateklis could run to the end of that of this race. So yeah,
and Aldous Pateklis did have a couple laps behind the safety car period, so tire degradation was very low. His fuel saving could have been very high at that point in time on the racetrack. If Timothy Fries Larson could potentially do this 33rd lap successfully, Aldous Pateklis, based on my commentary math drawn on a cocktail napkin with crayons, can make it to the end of the race, and that's not even if we get another safety car. If we get another safety car, Aldous Pateklis is in like Flint. He can make it to the end, 100%. But without a safety car, it'll be very, very close. But Aldous Pateklis has a chance to get back up into P2 of this race, should we get a stop from Daniel Thomas and Derek Heiberger.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that front. I mean, because of the pace that Larson has shown, as we are on lap 32 out of 53, so we're coming up to that window of around about maybe with 19 laps to go, I would say, taking into consideration the 2 laps that Aldous Pateklis had under the safety car window, because he was the first one that went into the pits under green flag conditions, let's not forget. But the gap between him and Derek Heiberger is 11 seconds. And then, yeah, I mean, the thing is, if the Thomas and Heiberger, if they pit, and their pit stops are longer. Here we go, Larson in the pit lane. So on lap 33 out of 53, or Puteklis could be cutting this close, but you might have called that very, very well. So Larson in the pit lane, Thomas out. Thomas has stayed out. So Daniel Thomas is going for the undercut on Timothy Fries Larson. Heiberger has pitted as well. So the two drivers, I think they're from the same squad from Hyperion Racing. It's just the case that the way that Fries Larson, and there we go, Puteklis now up into P3, so that's one car gone past on the pit stop window phase. Sebastian Jackson, he is still staying out, and he has just gone onto his 34th lap. So yeah, I mean, Puteklis might be in with a shout. Timothy Fries Larson actually is 10 seconds ahead, so Larson has done enough, I think, to secure the win. I mean, he's been cooler than the dude from the Big Lebowski on a good day. So Fries Larson, he's just been so ultra composed, as the Norwegian will effectively, once Daniel Thomas comes into pit lane, and I would say that's probably going to be in the next lap or two. And Fries Larson's pit stop time in total is 28.1 seconds. Will the Welshman now pit from the race lead as we are approaching the last 20 laps? Thomas is staying out. This could be a very, very shrewd bit of driving from the Welshman in the number 60, running in that wonderful Motul style livery on his Super Formula car. But the thing is, how marginal could he be on fuel, as he's got a car in front of him that he needs to get through on very, very quickly, but through the Snake Complex and into Dunlop, Thomas is going to have to risk it somewhat, and the other car decides to play ball, gets out of the way. And so Daniel Thomas, how long can he stay the course out on the circuit? Because with Timothy Fries Larson, if there was a problem in the pit lane for the 656 from Norway, then Thomas might have thought, well, hang on a second, I've possibly got a window of an opportunity of going for the W. But Fries Larson and Puteklis now on lap 21 of his stint. So lap 13 was when the Latvian did come in to the pit lane, and I think it's going to be too much a mountain for the Latvian to climb in the 666 car to go for the win, but still to round off the European region division of the Majors Series here in 2025. I don't think Puteklis can kick himself whilst he's down about what can be a second place finish, as Thomas, he's going to stay out. He is still braving it.
Wow.
Well, they do say about the bravery of the Welsh at times, when it comes for desperate measures, Daniel Thomas, who's using his push to pass down the start-finish straight, throws it into first corner, and his lead is still 15.6 seconds. I can see a little bit of strategy here, Saga, with regards to Daniel Thomas. He is going to use as much of that push to pass to mitigate the amount of distance between himself and Timothy Fries Larson, because that man from Wales, and not just him, will Sebastian Jackson, the Canadian, decide to go into pit lane? Yes, he pulls the trigger, and the 87 now goes down pit road, down on lap 35 out of 53. If Daniel Thomas does a El Grande undercut on Timothy Fries Larson with the way he's driving at the moment, I will be very, very surprised, because that gap has now opened. It's 16.7 seconds, 16.8 and climbing.
That would be something phenomenal to see Daniel Thomas pull out an overcut on his teammate Timothy Fries Larson, both driving in that team. But man, oh man, is this going to be an exciting one with Aldous Puteklis 26 seconds back, plus a 9-second pit stop. He needs to cover off another 9 seconds or so. I don't think Daniel J. Thomas can do so on this stint alone, he's probably running on just fumes right now, but once he has fresher tires and a higher fuel load, it'll be even harder for him to do so. And Daniel J. Thomas is now into pit lane, the driver from Wales, finally taking that pit stop in the number 60 right now. And here comes Timothy Fries Larson across the start finish line right now to finish up lap 36 of 53, headed on to lap 37 now. And now, where will Thomas come out in relation to Aldis Pateklis? And will come out just in front of Pateklis. Excuse me.
Yeah, so his pit lane time was 27.7 seconds, and his pit stop was 8.1. So Thomas knew that, I think he was going to try and do it. Meantime, Baker versus Jackson into 130R. Baker to the inside, both cars on the push to pass, and the number 33. Oh, but hang on a second. That was Gary Thomas that flung it up the inside through into the Casio triangle, and Sebastian Jackson now has Josh Hampton to contend with coming out of the final corner. And you can see that with the drivers in 7th, 8th and 9th, the halo is flashing intermittently, meaning that the 90-second recharge phase is underway as we speak. So it is now the case that I'm looking at the laps, the sector times. Aldis Pateklis is closing in on Daniel Thomas, so we are going to have some kind of grandstand finish. It's not going to be for the win, it is going to be for second position, because Aldis Pateklis took half a second out of Daniel Thomas through sector number 2. Gap now down to around 8.5 tenths of a second as we are on lap 37 of 53. We'll make that lap 38 out of 53. So Larson has crossed the line and has put in a 1:36.8. Daniel Thomas, including his time in the pit lane, does a 2-minute 3.7. And Pateklis is now 7 tenths behind him, make that 6.5 and closing. So Pateklis, his tyres are already very, very well worn and warm. Nevertheless, despite the fact of no degradation during the 2 to 3 laps of safety car period that we had earlier on in the race, Pateklis has got all his weapons sharp, and he is really rapidly closing in to Daniel Thomas, the man from Wales. The gap is 3.5 tenths of a second. So Pateklis is now within striking distance of the man in the number 60 car. So game on with just the best part, I think, what is it? It's 16 laps, including this one, left to go until the checkered, and Pateklis and Thomas will be engaging into battle momentarily.
That will be an epic battle for P2 and P3, as the gap, like you said, is just down to 4 tenths of a second, separating Daniel J. Thomas and Aldis Pateklis right now. But the battle will really be between the ears right now. Who can manage their fuel to the very end of the race? Aldis Pateklis is the one that has to worry about that. Daniel J. Thomas, with a very short pit stop, potentially not having to do so, coming into the Casio triangle, looking like Aldis Pateklis wants to make an attacking maneuver at the exit of 130R, can't find the room to do so on that occasion. And now coming down the start finish straight out of the last corner, will follow in single file line. No flashy of the halo system, meaning that they're using that push to pass system. So everything is on the up and up for both drivers. Aldis Pateklis, the one, like I said, who has to be on that fuel conservation strategy, really worried about making it to the very end right now, while Daniel Thomas provisionally doesn't have to do so. He did take one of the shortest pit stops on the racetrack tonight, but he has the shortest last stint to run out of anybody, pulling in a monster 35-lap stint on that opener. So he knew what he needed to do to make it to the very end of this race. And running on fresher tires, he might have the advantage over Aldis Pateklis, the Latvian driver.
So the game is afoot between second and third as we get these wonderful shots. Big thank you to our producer Daniel Costello behind the scenes, providing these wonderful camera angles that you people are seeing in glorious sound and vision here live on the Global Sim Racing channel. And more to the point, Pateklis is trying to close that gap once again, but Thomas, it seems like those tyres have started to switch on after a couple of laps, around the fearsome Suzuka International Racing Course here in Japan, the land of the rising sun. Gary Thomas, in the meantime, has pulled away a little bit from Sebastian Jackson, and it looks like we've got a full course yellow. I think we've got the safety car coming out, and that is going to bunch everything up again, and Timothy Fries-Larson is going to find that his gap of what was 12 seconds is now going to be absolutely decimated, as we've got a few more drivers into the pit lane. Garen Batten back into the pits. Ray Partridge in the number 8 car is in pit lane as well, was in the pits. So there it is. Oh dear. Timothy Fries-Larson has just gone, I've just put in all that hard work, and look who he's got behind him. He's got Daniel Thomas and Odis Pateklis, and we will have, effectively, depending on how long this caution lasts, because it's not down to iRacing, it can also be down to the race director, who can decide to throw a safety car period. So we're going to have to wait to see if there are any waiver rounds as such as well, Sagard, in the meantime.
Yeah, we'll have to see if anybody gets called for their lucky dogs. But for now, it'll be Timothy Fries-Larson in P1, Daniel J. Thomas in P2, Odis Pateklis in 3rd, Derek Heiberger in 4th, Austin O'Neill in 5th, with Colby Buck running in 6th position, David H. Baker running in 7th, Gary Thomas in 8th position, Sebastian Jackson in 9th, Joshua Hampton in 10th, Hakan Shaw in 11th, Ray Partridge in 12th, Garen Batten making his recovery drive all the way up into 13th position, Michael Hogg in 14th, and Jeff Schiemer. We're going to get it right eventually, running in 15th position.
There we go.
Schmeier.
We got there, my friend. We got there. Don't worry about it. It happens. It happens all the time. Like, literally, when I've been, I think, as part of my travels, I had went over to the Middle East, to Qatar more specifically, and some of the names I was getting confused left, right, and centre. So, believe you me, I understand and I appreciate what you're going through at the moment.
And it's messed up because I'm a guy with a weird name. Sagar Bakshi is a very interesting and unique name with a funky spelling. My dad got a deal on vowels, and I feel bad getting names wrong all the time, but I do it more often than not, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I completely understand and appreciate it. I mean, yeah, that it is an interest. It's like with people wondering, well, why am I from the UK and I've got a German surname? Oh, it's just bloodline. You know, it's sort of like you don't get the choice. It's like, well, that's what they called me. I have to deal with it. You know, it's one of those things. But also, this is another opportunity for the drivers to take a little bit of a sigh of relief, because this circuit here around at Suzuka, we've seen them pushing at more than 10 tenths and seeing some epic stints as we're on lap 39 out of 53. So once we go to green, it's going to be around about possibly a 10 to 11 lap sprint to the checkered. And we've seen on the restarts Timothy Fries-Larson get the whole shot, nail the restart perfectly, and leaves everyone in his wake behind him. But this also now gives an opportunity, and it also gives a little bit of impetus to Daniel Thomas and Odis Pateklis to say, hang on, he was 12 seconds. Thomas will be thinking, hang on, he was 12 seconds ahead of me before the safety car period was thrown. Now I've got an opportunity, because Daniel Thomas, let's be honest with you, wasn't exactly on the pace of Timothy Fries-Larson, but he's definitely been showcasing. I mean, his best lap was a 1:36.042, as they are doing a couple of wave rounds at the moment. So, Joshua Hampton has got a black flag and is in the pits. So Josh Hampton, oh dear. They will probably more than likely clear the black flag. So Joshua Hampton had been on those tyres for 27 seconds, now 27 laps. Odis Pateklis and Austin O'Neill, folks, both on 27 laps. David Baker, 27 laps. Gary Thomas, 25 laps on the current stint with the current tyres that he is sporting on his Super Formula car. So we have 4 drivers here, Sagar, that have an opportunity to do the ultimate one-stop strategy a la Checo Perez here at Suzuka.
This is pretty phenomenal stuff. I don't know why I get so nervous about drivers who are doing a long stint for their second stint versus if they did a long stint for their first stint. Maybe because they still have the opportunity to lose out on something with all the positions that they've gained. I think there's more risk doing it the way that Oldest Pateklis is running his race because you have less time to accumulate data. Basically, you don't get your computer enough time to register how many laps you're doing, how much fuel you're consuming in one swift stint to make it to the end, unless you're watching it like a clock, making sure that as soon as you hit that fuel window that you can make it to the end of the race, and then you decide to make that pit stop. You have to fuel it up to 110% basically to make it to the very end, because you will not get an additional bonus lap or two out of it. Hoping for the safety car isn't really a strategy. It's just risky. Let's just put it that way. Oldest Pateklis running it the riskiest possible right now on that 27 lap strategy right now, has to make it to the end to get his big haul of points that he's looking for, as well as getting by Daniel J. Thomas, who's on 23 lap fresher tires right now, only running 4 laps in that stint. Ray Partridge, Garen Batten, Michael Hogg, and Schmeier, excuse me, should be getting the wave around right now. And you know what? I know why I'm getting Jeff Schmeier's name wrong. It's because I have a friend named Jeff Schimmer. And that's why I'm getting it wrong, Alex Goldschmidt. I just finally put it together.
Oh, well, look, at least we know the reason why now, Sagar, so don't worry about it. It's water under the bridge, my friend. It's water under the bridge, but we are still having some wave arounds. We are now into the final 13 laps of this last round of the Major Series European region for 2025. And we have had 3 total retirements. Trevor Vavrovsky, this year's European region champion, out 18 laps ago, so that would be lap 22. Wayne Hutchinson out 3 laps before that, and then, well, early doors for Claude Bival in the number 56, out on lap 6 of this race after the backwards moment coming out of Degner number 2. So we are just waiting for the field to be very much on the lead lap, and everyone in a very much single file restart. The Porsche pace car still out on the circuit here at Suzuka. So more to the point, it will be another lap of fuel saving, another lap of zero deg on the tyres. And with that in mind, well, Timothy Fries Larson came in 3 laps, let's not forget, before Daniel Thomas, who out of the field, apart from Joshua Hampton and Ray Partridge, has the freshest set of tyres on that Super Formula car. As now the lights have gone out on the safety, on the pace car itself, whether we are going to get one more lap until we go back to green here for the what could be the final stretch of green flag racing, right up until the checkered, as Garen Batten now behind Ray Partridge in the number 8 car. Michael Hogg is closing in on the back of Garen Batten and Jeff Schmeier in the number 30, who rounds out the last of the 15 runners and riders in this 12th and final encounter for the Major Series European region for 2025. Looks like the safety car is starting to put a little bit of distance between itself and Timothy Fries Larson in the number 656, the Norwegian, who really hasn't put a foot wrong all race.
He has not put a foot wrong in this entire race and is doing a great job of controlling the field and the pace between them. I do want to point out, we do have 19 and a half minutes remaining in this session, and we have about 18 minutes of race time, of race laps left to go. We're going to be cutting this one dangerously short, if I'm not mistaken, and cutting this one very close to the ending time limit. I wonder if we will get a bonus lap or not, and this could play favor to Oldest Pateklis and some of his friends that are running on that 28 lap stint strategy currently.
Yeah, so they're now going to go through the hairpin. Light's still on the safety car, but if we get towards the end of the lap, and it is going to be more the case of when Jeff Schmeier, I think, will close in to the back of the field, because he just got the wave by the safety car. So it could be more the case. I think, as you rightly put, there is Jeff going through into the Casio triangle in the number 30 car for Dog Bear Racing. So he's going to come out of the final corner, and I would imagine until he gets to the back end of the train, then the safety car will remain out. And the lights are still on. They're just about coming out of Spoon Curve and going down the hill, down the West Straight, heading into what will be 130R. So we could end up running this to time. And Timothy Fries-Larson keeping right behind the Porsche pace car, and just waiting to see when the yellow lights go out, and then that will mean that he'll prime himself and get ready. And Jeff Schmeier coming out of Degner number 2. He might just about make it, so it could be very close to that window indeed. 25 seconds between himself and Michael Hogg. So at the minute, Schmeier just coming through out of 270R and going into Spoon Curve. So at the minute, yes, we are going to go for another lap. So that's going to put us on lap 42 out of 53. So it could be the fact that we will end up having more than likely a 10-lap sprint to the checkered flag. Schmeier makes his way through 130R. And now we've had Austin O'Neill, who after 29 laps has decided, I'm not going to chance it, I'm going to get myself a free pit stop. And in Michael Hogg comes as well, so has Garen Batten. They were all on 25 plus lap old tyres, and Aldis Puteklis and David Baker are the only two that have decided, well, this is going to work. This is going to help me save my fuel, save my tyres, as we've got about 18.5 minutes of time on the counter. We could be very, very close indeed. But with a 10-lap shootout, that's probably going to be about 15 minutes of racing, give or take. So safety car lights are off. We are going to be going back to green at the beginning of lap 43 out of 53. Cigar, I was kind of thinking it might happen. We've got a 10-lap shootout until the checkered to close out the 2025 European region of the Major Series.
This is going to be very, very close to running it down on time. Obviously, the drivers that are on those 29-lap tires are going to be saying, please, 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 give me one more lap behind the safety car to run down this clock. The drivers that are in the lead of this race, Timothy Fries-Larson and Daniel J. Thomas, are going to say, please, let's go back to green, because I know that Aldis Puteklis is trying to do something crazy behind me right now. Hopefully, they can catch up to the rest of the field. Aldis Puteklis can keep in touch with Daniel J. Thomas right now. Once we go back to green flag racing and put us on for a great show, but either way, with this 10-lap shootout, it's going to be battles galore for the final stint of this race. Looking forward to it. We've got 17.5 minutes remaining on race pace alone to finish out this race, and we've got about 18 minutes left of green flag running once the clock strikes midnight. So it's going to be very, very close. But either way, 10 laps, 9 laps, however many laps we get, it's a blessing nonetheless for the European Major Series.
The only interesting thing I've just seen is the tyre changes that have been made for Austin O'Neill and Garen Batten. I'm just wondering, have they decided to go on wets? If they think a weather front's possibly coming in, that could be a bit of a Jenson Button thought process there. If they think that the weather front is going to come in, but who knows? I mean, it's still pretty dry around the circuit, so who's to say that something else could spice up the mix in this 12th and final round of the series, because the pace car lights are out and Larson is waiting. The Hyperion Racing number 656 is getting those tyres very much up to temperature. And so is Daniel Thomas. Minimal movement by Aldis Pateklis, who starts to weave a little bit of short inputs on the steering. And well, precipitation dry, track wetness dry, according to the information that we're being provided with on the live timing. But it is now time to go racing back to green, as we will head into the final 10 laps of the 2025 Major Series European Region Championship. And it is going to be Timothy Fries Larson who will now put the pedal to the metal. And we are going to go back to green here with 10 laps to go. And now the snake train starts to happen on the start-finish straight. Larson does not get the initial hold shot he needed. Thomas went with him. It was not going to be a half-second advantage going into the snake complex. And now Aldis Pateklis is closing in on the number 60. Heiberger, Buck, Baker, Thomas Jackson, Hackenschott and Josh Hampton round out your top 10. But Larson in the second part of the phase through the snake complex has got nearly a second lead. And Aldis Pateklis is closing in on Daniel Thomas for second as they go into the Degners.
Looking good for Pateklis, the Latvian driver, really trying to challenge out as multiple drivers go off at Degner 2. And that might be another safety car for us potentially. But Colby Buck, the driver from Canada, battles it out with Ray Partridge. And that was Colby Buck and David Baker actually with the meatball flags coming through the Degners 2 corner. And now Pateklis challenging for Daniel Thomas right now, but now under threat from Heiberger, the other Hyperion driver, trying to challenge forward and maybe claim himself a podium paying position for the evening.
Now, the thing is, there are darker clouds up above, so there is a possible weather front that might come in. Wind was coming in from the west of the circuit. Pateklis now ahead of Thomas. Heiberger now closing in on the Welshman going into the Casio Triangle. So, could there be another potential spanner in the works for what might happen here? Timothy Fries Larson has a lead of 1.8 seconds. But Baker and Buck, both with the mechanical black flag. Baker having to crawl the number 33 round from the two Degners. And here is the weather front. There is a weather front starting to slowly make its way towards the circuit. So maybe, I mean, the big thing is that Austin O'Neill and Garen Batten have stuck wets on their cars. But if that does not come in quick enough, those wet tyres that those cars have got, the number 654 and the 61, those tyres will be screaming blue murder right about now. You can see that the circuit is getting darker in terms of the skies up above. The track temperature has dropped a further 5 Fahrenheit from 80 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. So 24 degrees Celsius is the track temp. Air temperature has remained constant at 19 degrees as Thomas now losing big time behind Pateklis, who's now 1.4 seconds up the road. Heiberger closing in on Thomas, the gap of about 4 tenths as they go through into 130R. So that weather is getting dangerously close. 10 laps to go. And Larson is 2.8 seconds up the road, make that 3 seconds. Those clouds, Sagar, they are looking dangerously close here at Suzuka. And we've got a replay coming up now. Look, rain's coming down, it's hit the circuit. It's hit the circuit with 10 laps to go. I thought there might be an opportunity for rain to come in. And it looks like the O'Neill and Batten brigade have decided that the Jensen-Button strategy was going to be one that was going to work, and rain has come down on the circuit. 9 laps to go, and the drivers on slicks will be struggling. Josh Hampton now in pit lane.
Wow, oh wow. If the European Major Series don't excite you, I don't know what will. because this is absolutely phenomenal stuff. Garen Batten and Austin O'Neill called it as they saw it, taking that free pit stop when they could, hopping onto the wet tires, predicting the weather better than my own local meteorologist could possibly, and you can see the pebbles coming down quicker than ever on your screen in front of you. Ray Partridge in the middle between Austin O'Neill and Garen Batten, who are on those wet weather tires. I thought it was going to be going their way potentially, because they said, well, let's try doing something different than what we're currently doing and let's see if it pays off. But this will definitely pay off as the rain starts to get heavier and heavier by the second.
This is also going to help Aldis Pateklis, who's been on tyres that are 32 laps old, and at the minute we're not quite yet at that crossover point where the wet weather tyres are going to be required, but that rain is intensifying. It is now coming over the circuit big time as David Baker comes out all straight into the path. I think of Aldis Pateklis, who managed to get through on him, and that rain is going to come down heavier now, so Baker's now on wets as well. Hackett Shot is out of push to pass. So for those wondering, if the little rig on the airbox is showing red, Hakan Shot has used up all his push to pass. All 200 seconds have gone by the wayside, and Jeff Schmeier is closing in on the Swede through at Snake, and now into Dunlop they go. Jeff Schmeier still has push to pass to play with, but this rain is going to be intensifying. They've got to watch the curbs here, and now there's a little bit of spray coming from the rear tyres of Jeff Schmeier as he closes in out of Degner 2 towards the hairpin here at turn 8 on Hakan Shot. But with 8 to go, can these drivers brave it out? Aldis Pateklis on 33 lap old tyres still holds on to second. Daniel Thomas on the push to pass to keep Derek Heiberger at bay, who's now doing it in his own way through 130R. He was flat on the throttle. Heiberger looking to the inside of the Casio triangle. Thomas defends, bumps over the curves. The rain starting to really intensify now, and Timothy Fries Larsen is way up the road. He's 6 seconds up the road, but if that rain gets any heavier, that rain is becoming nigh on torrential. It really is coming down hard now. The intensity is significant, and it looks like it's not abating at all. Michael Hogg and Garen Batten have just been battling, and Batten gets through before 130R with 7 to go. And still, Larson leads, Pateklis, Thomas, Heiberger, well, Daniel Thomas, then Gary Thomas. Here comes Derek Heiberger trying to see if he can put a move on Daniel Thomas. They go through the two Degners. The 655 gets the snap of oversteer. The back axle goes out to the left-hand side through Degner 2, now into the hairpin. And Heiberger senses his opportunity is right here, right now. He's got 3 lap older tyres than Thomas, but he seems to be a little bit more confident in the wet conditions, because those wet conditions are getting to the point where the drivers will have to think about switching to those wet tyres. But with the laps counting down here, Cigar, there was possibly a little bit of a touch. Front wing to rear diffuser between Heiberger and Thomas. Heiberger in the slipstream down the west straightaway. He's looking to the outside here on the run to 130R on slick tyres in wet weather conditions. Heiberger gets through because Thomas does not want to have any part of it at all.
Oh, I wouldn't want to have any part of it under dry conditions, let alone the wet conditions. And I think that was a self-preservation move from Daniel J. Thomas. And there is someone into the pit lane. That is Aldis Pateklis and Derek Heiberger. Oh, excuse me, Daniel J. Thomas, both into pit lane.
Oh, my goodness. So they have decided, right, okay, it's not worth the risk. And look, there's more people coming to the pits. Gary Thomas, Sebastian Jackson, they've decided to pit. Timothy Fries Larsen is going to hang this out for as long as he dare. I would think he's probably going to be in the next lap, but these pit stops should hopefully be pretty quick. Aldis Pateklis gets out ahead of Daniel Thomas. He's jumped him in the pit lane. Good move by the Latvian, decided to dive in first, and there you can see a few other drivers. Sebastian Jackson out to push to pass. So there is a lot of activity, Sebastian Jackson comes out in front of Austin O'Neill, who goes to the outside. And let's not forget, Austin O'Neill is on older tyres, 6 laps in the books. He's still got pushed to pass. So is Jeff Schmeier, who is also on the wet weather tyres. So Derek Heiberger and Timothy Fries Larson, the 2 drivers from Hyperion Racing, are at this moment, they're probably going to be skating around an ice rink at the moment, the way that those slick tyres will be handling.
Hats off to Garen Batten on the evening, though. Down 2 positions on the good, but unfortunately a disconnect is what took him out of the race, as well as contact. And here comes Timothy Fries Larson out of the Casio Triangle now, and he decides to stay out for another lap. And I think he might decide to run this to the end of the race at this point in time. There's no way he's going to come into the pit lane at this point in time. He's going to run it as long and as dirty as he possibly can. Well, Heiberger come down pit lane. The United States Hyperion driver does decide to come down pit lane. This should promote Oldest Pateklis into P2, but we'll have to keep an eye on that to make sure. Here comes Pateklis into the Casio Triangle now out of 130R, and he should get by Derek Heiberger, who should have a roughly 27-second long pit stop, and he's 11, 12, 13 seconds into his pit stop right now.
So the bone of contention will be, I mean, Aldous Pateklis was in the pit lane for 27 seconds. Now he's on wet tyres, as Heiberger will re-emerge behind Daniel Thomas in P4. Now, the last lap from Timothy Fries Larson was a 1:47.097, as it is going to be the case that these drivers are just going to have to tiptoe around this course until the end. But Larson at the minute is, well, it's ebbing and flowing. You can see that the weather front has come in. We have got 5 laps to go here at Suzuka on what has been a dramatic end to the European region of the 2025 Majors Series. And look, Aldous Pateklis is gaining time, and he took, now Larson is going to be, I think Larson's got no other alternative. He's got to pit this lap. But he needs to have a pit stop quicker than about 23 seconds as the Norwegian fires his way through 130R. The gap now is absolutely hemorrhaging time at the moment, is Timothy Fries Larson, and he'll have no other alternative. The lap times are reflective. The Norwegian is in the pit lane. Now, Aldous Pateklis, can he take the victory? The gap is now starting to close. 18 seconds, 17 seconds. Timothy Fries Larson has got a low run down pit lane, and Pateklis yet to cross the stripe. I'm going to have a quick check where the man is at the moment. And he's just coming through the Casio Triangle. And now through the final corner, Aldous Pateklis at full speed. Larson coming out of pit lane. This is going to be close, but the Latvian's going to have the overspeed round the outside. And Aldous Pateklis, with 4 to go, takes the race lead ahead of Timothy Fries Larson, who has led every single lap until that point. Incredible.
Absolutely incredible stuff. Timothy Fries Larson is going to have the challenge he begged for this entire race. Now has to do the hard work and go the long way around the outside of Pateklis at any opportunity he possibly can. Pateklis needs to be mistake-free. He's got no excuses now. He's got newer tires than he should have. He's got better track position than he could have ever asked for. He's got the fuel, but makes a mistake going through Degner 1, and he's going to cut off Timothy Fries Larson. Is going into Degner 2. It's going to be a nose-to-tail drag race headed down into the following corner and into the hairpin. Who will be the victor here tonight? It'll be a challenge for Timothy Fries Larson to try to find the inside line, but it's not going to open up. Now going in towards Spoon Curve. Who's going to have any sort of advantage going into the following corner? Will Timothy Fries Larson lick the stamp and send it? No. He's going to follow in single file line. Daniel J. Thomas also waiting in the wings right now, but another mistake from Pateklis is going to allow Timothy Fries Larson the inside line, and he's going to take the opportunity at the first time of asking.
Talk about a pendulum swing. Pateklis decides to dive into the pit lane. Larson left it right up until the last moment, and capitalizes on 2 mistakes from Aldous Pateklis, 1 at Degner 1, and then at Spoon Curve. We're going to have 3 to go until the checkered, and do not count out the man from Wales, the number 60 of Daniel Thomas, who rounds out P3. And now Larson, on those new wet tyres, has got a lead of just over 7/10 of a second, as we have about 16.5 kilometres worth of racing left to go. Aldous Pateklis, the Latvian charger, who has been trying to close in on Timothy Fries-Larsen, got the opportunity through the pit stop phases. His strategy was actually pretty, I think he might have even have thought of the fact that the rain was going to come in, as Derek Heiberger closing in on Daniel Thomas through the state complex. The American looks to the inside of the Welshman but can't quite get through. Oh, it's handbags at sunset here in Japan between first and third as well. I mean, Thomas is out of contention for the race victory, but he is one step, he's about 2.5 laps away from taking second in the European region, behind Trevor Vavrovsky, who unfortunately retired 29 laps ago. And Heiberger again looking through at 270R on the run down to Spoon Curve. Spray hitting the air. Heiberger to the outside of Thomas. Can he get the overspeed? No, he can't. He tried for the crisscross. He's now got to wait for coming out of Spoon Curve. And Pateklis now 2.2 seconds behind Larson, who has bolted into the distance with brand new wet tyres. Thomas coming under fire from Heiberger, who's going to look to the inside line. Neither on the push to pass into 130R. There's going to be contact between the pair. Oh, Daniel Thomas's run to second of the championship might have been just hit a killer blow. If he gets a mechanical black flag, that's it, possibly for him. But he's got a lot of damage to that left side of that car. And that was a repeat of what we saw with Vavrovsky very, very early on there, Cigar. I cannot believe what I'm witnessing here. And Garen Batten is in P8. If Thomas gets a mechanical black flag, that means that Garen Batten will secure second in the European region here in 2025 with just moments to spare to the checkered.
I'm not seeing a mechanical black flag or a meatball flag as we know it in the Americas just yet. Doesn't mean that it won't be called just sooner rather than later for Daniel J. Thomas, as he makes some more mistakes coming through the S's right now, and just the car looks almost undrivable under these conditions right now. Garen Batten might be able to catch up on pace alone if Daniel J. Thomas keeps on limping this one home. Coming through Degner 1, looks completely out of control. Through Degner 2, gets on the loud pedal. The rear end steps out from beneath him, and Jeff Schmeier looks like he's catching up to Daniel J. Thomas at a rate faster than not. 1.6 is the gap. We'll keep an eye on that for you at home. Right now, it's Timothy Fries-Larsen in P1, Aldous Pateklis in P2, Derek Heiberger in P3, and that rounds out your provisional podium so far with 2 to go.
And it is not that long before we go on to what will be the white flag lap. We are cutting it close on time. We will be, I think, pretty much even Stevens when Timothy Fries-Larsen crosses the line, and he is just coming through the Casio triangle. So it will be white flag in the air this time around. Timothy Fries-Larsen, white flag in the air. Final lap of the season for the European region for the Major Series for 2025. And Timothy Fries-Larsen had everything thrown at him. The weather, Aldous Pateklis, and a change of tyres at the last moment. Aldous Pateklis got the jump but made 2 big mistakes on his first lap on those brand new wet weather tyres. And Larson, who had been in the pits 2 laps earlier, had managed to get them up to temperature. And the man from Norway for Hyperion Racing, who is using his push to pass, look how much his reserve is. It's 1 minute and 40 seconds, and he's going to be burning that up right up until the end of this race. It doesn't matter about the traction. And look, his lead is now 8.5 seconds. Timothy Fries-Larsen is going to make sure that the margin that he had, as Jeff Schmeier is closing on in, Austin O'Neill is also there. He's dived to the inside of Schmeier, going through into Degner 1. That's a move that you don't see very often. Daniel Thomas is hemorrhaging time at the moment. He's behind Derek Heiberger, who is still holding on to the final position of the rostrum as we speak. Daniel Thomas has got to get through this final lap, and he will pick up second in the European regional standings. Timothy Fries Larson picture in picture. Thomas loses out to O'Neill through 270R, but Timothy Fries Larson underneath the Advan banner for the final time into the Casio triangle. The Norwegian is going to pick up the victory after 53 laps of racing. Timothy Fries Larson wins here amidst a saturated Suzuka in the season finale, and he is going to win it by a clear country mile. Daniel Thomas is holding on because he was 3 points behind Garrett Batten, who's had a race to forget. In many respects he will remember. Pateklis takes P2. Austin O'Neill will next be around the final corner. The 654 will make it through to the final step of the rostrum. Schmeier in fourth. Thomas, does he cross the line in fifth? Yes, he does, and with that becomes the vice champion in 2025 in the European region. And he was not that far ahead. Between Daniel Thomas and Garen Batten, the gap was 5 seconds at the end of 53 laps. Batten finishing behind Derek Heiberger. Here comes Hakan Schott, who will finish behind Sebastian Jackson, who also decided on the 3000 IQ strat with the early pit stop on lap number 13. The Swede will come out of the final corner and take 9th place ahead of Josh Hampton, who rounds out the provisional top 10. Still got a couple of drivers to come across the line. David Baker finishes in 14th. We've still got Ray Partridge, Gary Thomas and Michael Hogg. Ray Partridge comes across the line in 11th position, but Cigar, what can you say about this man here? Timothy Fries Larson from Norway absolutely stole the show here at the Suzuka season finale for 2025.
Absolutely speechless, brother. There's nothing to be said. Timothy Fries Larson left it all on the track, did all the talking that we need to, put on a clinic for us on how to drive around Suzuka just when we thought he was going to lose the battle for P1 towards the closing stages of the race. He made the move happen around Oldest Pateklis, sold a dummy coming out of Spoon, and forced Oldest Pateklis to go defensive on an opportunity for him to attack later at the exit of Spoon Corner, rather than going for an egregious move coming in through 130R and potentially ruining both their races. Just knew exactly where to stage himself perfectly. So Timothy Fries Larson deserves to do these victory donuts across the start-finish line here tonight.
Yep, the 656 for Hyperion Racing putting on one hell of a show here at Suzuka. We've had everything. We've had, and he even does a 360 a la Travis Pastrana to boot, but well, what a way to cap off the European region of the Major Series for 2025 here at the Suzuka International Racing Course. Let's take you through the provisional results, and what a race for Timothy Fries Larson. The 656 after 53 laps wins by 14 seconds ahead of the 666 of Latvia's Uldis Puteklis. Austin O'Neill found himself starting 4th, dropped down the order, but in the rain he started to shine. Along with him and Garen Batten were one of the first 2 drivers to put on those wet weather tyres, and boy did that pay off for the 654 from the USA, rounding out your top 3. Jeff Schmeier and Daniel Thomas ran at the top 5, and provisionally it means that I think that Daniel Thomas might have taken the possible vice championship status in the major series for the European region. Obviously, we're not 100% confirmed on that, but it might just be the case. It might have just been nip and tuck between the pair. Derek Heiberger and Garen Batten round out your top 7 ahead of Sebastian Jackson, Hakan Schott and Josh Hampton round out your top 10. That's page 1. Cigar, let's go over to you for page 2 of the finishing results, my friend.
Ray Partridge came home in 11th position with Michael Hogg in 12th. Gary Thomas came home in 13th. David H. Baker in 14th, 1 lap down. Then we had Colby Buck 10 laps down. Trevor Vavrovsky, who was taken out of the race 32 laps ago. Then Wayne Hutchinson and Claude Baval, who came home in 17th and 18th, unfortunately, not finishing this race.
Well, we have got a couple of drivers standing by for interview, and I think what we need to do is to start off with our runner-up. It was so close. The middle stint by this man was absolutely mighty as we welcome Aldis Pateklis into the booth. Aldis, firstly, that was so close. You nearly had Timothy Larson. After the rain started to come down, you left it out there on the circuit as long as you could, with the rain intensifying. What was your game plan? Because you did a mega middle stint.
Yeah, that was my hope, but there is just nothing I can do to a guy, 10K rating guy. It's too high for me. But yeah, he was driving amazing, and I'm happy anyway because I haven't done a single lap in wet, but amazing, loved it.
I mean, despite the fact you started on the inside of row number 3 to pick up a second place finish in what was, I think we have to say, was a crazy season finale. It just puts you into a good frame of mind for next year for 2026 with regards to the Majors series, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, this is my best year in majors. I have 1 win and now the second place. I've never been on a podium before, so it plays out good.
And also, in many respects, you came into this 10th in the standings in the European region. I mean, obviously that's going to push you up a little bit higher with that second place finish. It's never easy when there's such tough competition, as we always know in the majors. It's always nice that when you get that win, you get that second place or podium to round off the season. It puts you in a good frame of mind for any competitions up and coming and into the weeks and months that follow.
Oh, definitely. This has the feeling of special event win or podium because we prepare a week for this anyway, like for special events, so it is miles more special than normal race win.
Well, Aldis Baldies, thank you very much for your time in the booth, and congratulations on the second place finish. Anyone you'd like to thank before we let you go?
I'm gonna thank you guys, and of course Majors and Mike. This has been an incredible season and well put together as always, so happy to race here. Happy to be on your broadcast as well, guys. So amazing. Thank you.
Big thank you there to Aldis Pateklis. And looks like we've got our third place finisher, Austin O'Neill, who's now going to be having a chat with Sagar.
Austin O'Neill, welcome to the broadcast booth. Now, into the later stages of this race, could you have expected for P3?
Absolutely not. I had really nothing to lose on that last safety car, and the way the rain was going to fall and how the laps kept getting added to the safety car, I'm like, I either try to go early and pull a rabbit out of the hat, or I just, follow everybody else. And this is my first Euro race, so I was like, I got nothing to lose. It'd be good practice for the Americas region later tonight, so I got lucky. I did not expect that to happen. I was catching Jeff at the end, and honestly, I thought that's all I could get. And then Daniel and a couple other cars were backing up to us. And when the white came out, and I seen them all lined up, and I'm like, well, this is my chance. But no, getting back to what you said, if you'd asked me under that safety car or the lap after it, I would have told you were crazy if I was going to finish on the podium.
That is absolute phenomenal. Austin O'Neill being very honest and a gentleman with his decision making. It looked like you played all of your cards right to climb up to where you're supposed to be on the podium, high flying. Great drive out of you tonight. It seemed like you were mistake free, had a pretty quiet race for the most part. Tell us about anything that we may have missed on camera or any exciting tidbits that really stand out to you.
You missed nothing. I had a clear window the entire race. No, I had a decent qualifying effort, and I thought, all right, if I just run consistent, I'll be a top 5, top 3 if I'm extremely lucky. And off the start, I buzzed the tires and watched 2 or 3 cars drive by me, and I'm like, well, at this point, it's just maintain. And I knew the rain was going to be a factor. I just didn't know when. I didn't know if we were going to have safety cars, so just try to stay mistake free. And I seen some others around me have mistakes, and it obviously played out into my hands early in the race. And then no, nothing exciting happened to me until the rain came out. And even when the rain came out, and Karen and I were the only 2 to go on wets at that time, and we both said to each other probably 2 laps, 3 laps into that run that this was an absolute mistake. And you know, good luck for props for trying, but it was an absolute mistake. And then no, the tires cooled down right at the right time when the rain came out and gave me like a lap or 2 to run past some cars. But I'd rather be lucky than good any day of the week, and I'll take it for a coin.
For sure, brother, for sure. I was just about to ask you that $1 million question too. At what point did you think this wasn't going to work out in your favor? But you already answered that and said about 2 to 3 laps into this stint, me and Garen Batten both said, well, at least we tried, right?
Yeah, no, we fired off, and I went through turn 1 and I passed somebody, and I was like, Garen, tires feel amazing. Like, I figured they'd feel like just garbage off the start. I've never done a Super Formula race before until today, so I had no idea what to expect. And they felt really good, and then that hope and promise faded really quickly. And then I'm just lucky that they cooled off when they did, and when the rain came out, and I didn't kill it pretty much. So that was the cars lined up, and it worked out.
Amazing drive, Austin O'Neill, our driver in 3rd position for the European Major Series tonight. Austin, do you have anybody that you'd like to thank or anybody that you'd like to shout out before we let you go?
Yeah, the whole Fusion team. Normally I run their Americas region, so coming into this I wanted some extra practice, so I turned up for Euro, and just everybody on their team. I'm going to forget names, but all the Fusion drivers today, Tommy, Sebastian, Garen, Daniel, all of them were a huge help, in the race, even though we were racing against each other. But no, they've been a great team to run with this year, and I look forward to maybe doing a little bit of 2 region racing next year.
Right on, brother. Thank you very much for joining us in the broadcast booth. Thank you for supporting the European Major Series, and we'll hope to see you in the Americas later on as well.
Thank you.
Well, really, really good to hear from our drivers in 2nd and 3rd, Aldous Pateklis and Austin O'Neill. And that, as they say, folks, is that. What a way to cap off the season finale here live on the Global Sim Racing channel for the European region, round 12 out of 12. You had Super Formulas with Suzuka, and then at the end of the race with 10 laps to go, you had a bit of saturation, and it provides us with one hell of a final showdown. And I think we have also got our race winner, Timothy Fries Larsen from Norway. Well, what a race you've had today. You kept it on the black stuff. You managed to get the jump on Aldous Pateklis after he made those 2 mistakes after pitting in, but well done on the win today.
Thank you so much. That was a really fun race overall. I really need more of these. It kind of makes me feel like an F1 driver, which is my dream. So I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, unfortunately, the Japanese Grand Prix has already been and gone, Timothy. But yeah, a mega drive. I mean, you, with regards to obviously when the rain came down, one of the big things that we noticed was the fact that you didn't panic. You had a game plan, and when we saw that, I think there was, I think your fastest lap was it was a 1:35.7, and when you went into pit lane, I think it was your previous lap before then was a 1:47. So you were hemorrhaging a lot of time, and it was a case of you needed to pull the trigger quickly on keeping ahead of Aldous, and you managed to get the job done because you pitted a couple of laps before he went in after a mega middle stint.
Yeah, I mean, my strategy was kind of screwed up with the rain, and kind of safety cars too, but that was not too bad. Goal was to just go a simple one stop and all in the dry. But yeah, the rain obviously mixed things up, and I was watching my delta time to see how much time I was losing in the rain, but I just got a little bit too confident and went one lap too long, and obviously I spun. But yeah, managed to get up there on wet tires and find pace immediately, and yeah, take back the lead and win the race. So that was nice.
Mega stint. I mean, you were absolutely supreme out there at Suzuka, so well done on the win and taking the final victory in the European region for 2025. Before we let you go, Timothy, is there anyone you'd like to thank or give a shout out to before we let you go?
Well, friends and family, of course, especially my dad, my grandfather as well. I don't know if he's watching, I'll find out later. All my friends who might be watching, and my team. Shout out to my teammate Derek for wanting to race this with me. And I'm usually the only one in the team racing this car, so it was fun having a teammate to work together with and plan out strategy. And yeah, thanks to the organizers, thanks to you guys for hosting the broadcast, and thanks to everyone in the race for this show.
Brilliant. Thank you so much to our winner for round 12 here at Suzuka, Timothy Fries Larsen from Norway. Congratulations on the win, and we look forward to seeing him at some point soon. So, well, that does now officially wrap up our live coverage of the European region of the Majors Series for round 12 out of 12. Cigar, your final thoughts before we truly close things out?
Final thoughts are, this was an amazing series. This was an amazing championship and an amazing race for sure. Thank you very much to all the drivers for participating and making the Major Series 1 to be so successful. Thank you very much for having me, and that's all I've got.
Well, a big thank you to the team, a big thank you to Cigar, to Daniel, and to Dougie. Thank you so much for everyone for watching. Also, coming up here on the Global Sim Racing channel, this coming, Tuesday, Monday evening at 21:55 Eastern. I mean, that's the thing. Time zones just get me all thrown out. I mean, you with surnames, Cigar, and now me with time zones. 2:55 UK, that'll be Tuesday the 19th of November, or Monday the 18th of November at 9:55 p.m. Eastern. We head to the Porsche Owners Club, to the home of British Motorsport at Silverstone. MX5 United on Tuesday the 18th at 3:15 Eastern, 8:15 p.m. UTC. Then the Skip Barber Racing School heads to the iconic Spa-Francorchamps this coming Thursday, November 20th. And the Grand Prix Legends will be heading to Winton Raceway on November 22nd. So, this has been a Global Sim Racing channel production with Genesis Extreme. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, race hard, race fair, and if in doubt, well, you better go flat out. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Good night.
This is iRacing.
Hey, you know that guy who just before the green flag keys up his mic and asks, "Anybody got a setup?" Well, this is him. This is Adam, and hey, Adam needs some help. On the other hand, this guy over here, this is Steve. Steve is a solid racer and he knows his way around the garage. Steve's problem is time. With a job and a family, he can't find enough time to build competitive setups and to race as often as he likes. But as luck would have it, Steve knows a secret. He lets the Majors Garage crew chiefs do the setup work so he can focus on the racing. At majorsgarage.com, Steve can get setups for over 60 cars on the iRacing service. So no matter what series he wants to jump into, he is covered. Somebody, anybody, really should tell Adam. See you at the garage.